The Lord President, white. The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy Chief Constable, white. Every Assistant Chief Constable, white. The Head of the Law Society, white. The Head of the Faculty of Advocates, white. Every Prison Governor, white. And not just Justice. The Chief Medical Officer, white. The Chief Nursing Officer, white. The Chief Veterinary Officer, white. The Chief Social Work Advisor, white. Almost every trade union in this country headed by people who are white.
Look how angry he is, though. It's like this rage. Where is it coming from? Like, can you show me on this doll where the white people of Scotland touched you? It's interesting. Like he is incapable of understanding. His brain lacks the mental capacity to figure out why is it that in a country with over 96% of the population white is having white representatives. I wonder if you were to transport him to Africa, like he goes to Ghana, would he have the same speech in the parliament? It's like, I don't understand. So many black people here. It's like the president, black, the governor, black, everyone is. Would he have the same thing in Israel? Like, oh, well, so many Jewish people around. It's interesting. Like maybe someone can explain him, maybe he missed on school and he just doesn't understand how statistics work. Maybe he just... Like, what do you guys think? Why is he incapable of understanding why that if in a bag, which has 96% of white balls, if you randomly pick balls from that bag, they're going to be white? And it also seems that he doesn't understand that the person who isn't white, how do the British call them? They have a very funny name for BIPOC. If you have a BIPOC person, they can also want to be represented by a non-BIPOC if the person that represents them, I don't know, wants to improve the economy or wants to improve the standard of living. People don't live in this racial world that he is describing where, oh, well, this candidate, he's got really good policies that I would like, but unfortunately, looking down his family tree, it doesn't seem that we share many common ancestors, so therefore... I mean, you can literally point it out that this is not the reality due to the fact that he had to be voted in by white people. Again, the country is not just a democracy, but over 96% of the population is white. So he had to get the vote of white people in order to get there. But the thing is, he realizes, oh shit, my grift doesn't really work in a country with this demographics. So maybe we need to think a little bit with the demographics. Maybe we need to have some open borders or something, and then my talking points would make sense. But people might complain, and if people complain, then I may lose my seat. I may lose my ability to gain an office. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock down the people that complain. I'm going to put them in prison. Which is why you have like the most strictest hate speech laws in the fucking world. I think that even the Soviet Union was more lenient with saying bad things compared to what Scotland is planning to do now. Like, unironically, and we're going to get to that, but J.K. Rowling may find more freedom, more human rights regarding this point if she actually runs away to China. Now, I know some people are going to have a knee-jerk reaction and they're going to say, well, V, hold on, like, you're talking about China? Like, do you know what they do there? Yes, I do, but do you know what they're planning to do in Scotland? Like, seriously, just stop for a bit, look at the bad things that can happen to J.K. Rowling in China, and then look at the bad things that can happen to J.K. Rowling in Scotland. If you're J.K. Rowling, in which country would you feel safer? I'm not even kidding with this, right? Now, I'm not endorsing China. I want people to understand. I'm not saying that China is this bastion of human rights, an amazing place to live. What I am saying is that on this point, on this article, if you are J.K. Rowling, it is unfortunate that Scotland has now started competing with China for authoritarianism. I'm also curious, what is the punishment for CP in Scotland? Like, if someone downloads or shares illegal pictures on his computer, because apparently for hate speech, it can be up to 7 years. And I'm curious if you end up in the ridiculous circumstance where sharing a meme can be considered as dangerous, or if not more dangerous, than sharing CP. Because when you make a new law and you make the punishment, you have to take into consideration other laws, other similar stuff. Like what we're talking about here is sending illicit things on the computer, right? So I would think that in a sane world, in a sane environment, sending mean speech on the computer should be punished less. Like, it should be less of a danger to society than someone that's actually abusing children, right? Like, can we get on board with that? Because I'm really curious about the punishment. But anyway, right, so they're passing this law, and they have this website that encourages you to snitch on your neighbors. Now, a lot of people on Twitter have said that they're going to snitch on Hamza Yousaf himself for hate speech due to what he just posted here, right? Because it is hate speech. Like, don't tell me that if you were to go and you'd have the same conversation that he had about Jewish people or about black people or about women or anything like that, it would be acceptable. But of course, the enforcement is not going to be equal, right? Because the whole purpose of the enforcement is to protect Minister Hamza Yousaf. So if Minister Hamza Yousaf seems to have a problem with white people, then it's fine to be on board in the same line of thinking with him, right? But anything else is probably going to be deemed unacceptable. And you gotta wonder, like, what exactly is hate speech? Well, if a person has a gender, right? And you try to hit that gender, but you miss. If you miss the gender, if you misgender someone, potential 7 years in prison. You sick son of a bitch. Only in Scotland. So J.K. Rowling is basically saying that she wants the police to arrest her. And unironically, if you were to have J.K. Rowling being arrested, it would be such a massive PR hit to Scotland and to the Western nations itself that have similar ideologies, right? Because when you have a beloved child author, and you look at J.K. Rowling, you look at her face, you look at who she is not a dangerous individual. She is not a menace to society. Now, I know that modern ideology is trying to create, well, no, this is how society thinks. And if you think differently in any way, shape, or form, you are a danger. But the reality is that's what fascist governments say. Democratic and free nations allow criticisms and allow even different ways of thought. Like in America, even during the Cold War, you were allowed to support communism without actually getting into prison for it. And if you do not allow people to have different ways of thought, then what is the difference between your nation and Benito Mussolini's Italy? Well, what is the difference between your nation and the Soviet Union at that point? If you're just going to control what people say. Now, I do understand that incitement to violence is not free speech, but this is not what we're talking about. Like, they are going to politicize even concepts. Or political leanings, or your personal opinions. Like in the case of J.K. Rowling, if she doesn't believe that this man is a woman, then I guess like she should be punished, right? It's her beliefs that are the problem. You're now thought policing. Did you notice that the word thought policing doesn't appear in the media anymore? Like, it used to be viewed as a bad thing. It used to be viewed as something that tyrants would do, right? Because usually you want to police people's actions. Like, it doesn't matter what a person says or thinks or, as long as they're not acting on it, like, that's fine. But unfortunately, the new way of thinking, the modern and progressive way of thinking is that even if a person doesn't act on it, even if a person wouldn't be able to act on it, even if they wanted to, they still need to be punished if they're having the wrong thoughts. If they're thinking the incorrect things, we still need to lock them up because they're a danger to society. And the reality is that they are a danger to politicians. They may not support this individual in the future, and this is the problem. And this individual with this mindset, when he goes around and starts complaining about demographics, the only way that his grift makes sense if he changes the demographics. And I think like he wants to make sure that people do not complain if there are any reasons to complain when that happens, right? So like if he says, all right, well, we're going to just have open borders, or we're just going to stop policing the borders like in America, and then you have like culture clashes, you have like all these things. Well, he's going to be on the side of the minority. He's never going to be on the side of the majority, even though he represents the majority, because that's what his speech is about. And when you're going to realize, oh, well, how is he going to enforce this new law? Well, he's going to enforce it on the people that speak out against his policies. And what's interesting is, there was an interview that showed how many people got arrested in Russia for speech, right? Like just political crimes. And it pales in comparison with the number of people that got arrested in the UK for shit they said on social media. Like the UK is becoming this country where you gotta think the correct things, right? Like you need, it's not that the politician needs to look at the people and see what the people think so that the politician can have his talking points. It's the other way around in UK. You gotta look at what your politician is saying and make sure that you're on board with whatever your politician is saying, even if it's for your own detriment. Like, let's say cost of living is going up, or the economy is being shut down, or your rights are being taken away. None of that matters. You just gotta agree. You gotta parrot whatever your politician says, because otherwise, you may end up in prison. Like, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but this is how it looks from the exterior. This is how it looks from people who don't live in Scotland. And again, you know, I'm in Eastern Europe, a country that a couple of decades ago managed to escape a dictatorial regime. And I genuinely believe we have more democracy than the UK. Like, people here have far more freedom than the UK, and definitely far more freedom than Scotland. What a great article on the 1st of April, and it's not even a joke. Let me know what you think, and I'm going to celebrate my birthday on a stream today, so if you're interested, there is a link into the pinned comment where you will be taken to my streaming channel, and hopefully I'll see you guys there. Take care.